Hey there, and welcome to the Girl Means Business podcast, the show that's all about helping photographers just like you build a thriving business without sacrificing your sanity. I'm your host, Kendra Swalls, a former teacher turned full-time photographer and marketing coach, here to fill your earbuds each week with practical tips, real-life stories, and a whole lot of encouragement. So if you're ready to dive in, let's get to it because this girl means business. Welcome back to the Girl Means Business podcast. We are on part 3, the final part of the Blogging for Photographers series. This is where we tie everything up in a nice, pretty bow, and I tell you exactly how to turn your blog into a client magnet. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see photographers making is they will say, I tried blogging and it didn't work for me. And what that typically means is they quote unquote tried blogging by posting blogs about their sessions or maybe sprinkling in a few posts here and there that were informative or educational, but they didn't do anything to actually turn the people who were looking at that blog into potential clients. Therefore, they might have been getting traffic to their blog. They might have been getting traffic to their website because your blog is on your website, but they weren't actually getting clients from it. So in their mind, they're like, I tried the blogging thing and it didn't work. And so I want to talk today in this episode about how to put all those pieces together that we talked about in part 1 and part 2, and then what we're going to talk about in part 3 and how to put them all together to create a marketing system. Because here is the thing that I want you to walk away from this with. Your blog is not just a check mark on a to-do list. It is a marketing strategy. And the goal should be to create content that turns viewers into paying clients. Because while traffic is great, it doesn't pay the bills. Your clients are what pays the bills. So how can we take the traffic that's coming to your site, to your blog, and turn it into potential clients? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, a quick recap. If you have not listened to or watched part 1 or part 2 of this series, I want you to pause right here and go back and listen to part 1 and part 2, because that's going to lay the foundation for what we're going to talk about today in this final episode of the series. So part 1, we talked about the purpose behind a blog, why a blog can help you, and how to set it up in a way that's going to actually work within your business. Part 2 was about what you should actually be creating and talking about in your blog post and how to utilize SEO in order to get found. So how to get eyes on your content. And then today we're going to dive into the idea of what to do once they actually come to your site. So let's kind of walk it back and let's think about the client journey of how they get to your actual blog. So in last episode, I talked about this idea of a topic of should you include your pet in your family photos? So we're going to kind of stay with that same topic for this one. So let's say there is someone, a mom, sitting at home on a random Tuesday evening. The kids have gone to bed. The kitchen is cleaned up from dinner. She sits down with her laptop, maybe a show on in the background, a glass of wine beside her, and she thinks, I probably need to start thinking about our fall family photos or our next family photos. We have this really beloved dog that has been in our family for years. Maybe the dog is getting older. And she's thinking, maybe should we include our dog, Petunia? I don't know why. We'll go with Petunia as the dog's name. Should we include Petunia in our family photos? So she goes online and she Googles, do people bring their pets to their family photos? Now, this is where the journey goes from random person at home on her computer to entering your sphere of awareness. So through that Google search, your blog post pops up onto her feed, the one you created that says why you should include your pet in your family photos. And she's like, oh, perfect. She clicks on it. She's reading through your blog post. It's great information. She loves the photos that she is seeing that you've taken of other families, candid moments of them with their family pet, a couple posed ones, some of just the dog on their own. And she's starting to envision her family and her dog, Petunia, in these photos. Now, here's where it could go one of two ways. It's like a choose your own adventure path here. The blog post could end and she kind of goes, okay, well, that was interesting. What else can I find on Google? Okay, that's the dead end path. That's the path a lot of photographers are taking with their content, is they're creating content that leads to a dead end. There's nowhere else for this person to go. So they turn around, they go back where they started to Google, and they find somebody else's blog post, the next one on the list that that came up in their search. Or option B, they come to your site, they come to your blog post, they read through the content, and then there is a next step action to take. Whether it is a click here to book your session, whether it is a download your free guide and join the email list, click here to read the next blog post associated with this one. Or if you liked this blog post, we think you might like this one. There is something that they can do next. It's not a dead end. They now can keep going down this path with you because they have been provided with opportunities beyond just that blog post to follow up next steps. And that is what we want to do with our content. That is how you turn your blog into a client producing machine, is by keeping them on that path that leads to your inbox and your wallet. Okay. That's what we want to do. So let's talk about some of the ways that we can do that. So I mentioned some in this example. One of them is that you give them another similar piece of content to go to. Now, I'm going to tell a little bitty side tangent here, but just bear with me. So I love to read books. I love books. And I really love a good series of books. So what some of these authors have done that I think is completely genius is that at the end of, let's say there's a 3-book series, at the end of the first book, they will add an excerpt for book 2 that gives you a little teaser of the next book. And it makes you want to go and read because it usually leaves you on some kind of like little cliffhanger. And so you're like, oh my gosh, I got to read book 2 now, or part 2 of the series. You can utilize that same strategy in your blog post. So you've created this blog post. It's all about why you should include your pet in your family photos. Then at the bottom, you could put something that's like, if you found this helpful, you might also like, and then you could share a link or two to a couple other blog posts that you think they might like that relates to. So maybe one is 3 things you can do before your next family session to ensure that everything runs smoothly, or how to make sure your kids stay involved and engaged during a photo shoot. Like, there could be other posts that you've created that takes them down further and further. Then that gets them more invested in you. They are starting to build a credibility with you, a trust with you, a relationship with you. And then the more time they're spending on your website, that's better for your SEO and your visibility. And then hopefully eventually it leads them to the actual booking page or information page, contact page of your website. The other thing you can do there is you could take that same book idea and add a little tiny excerpt from your next post. So at the bottom, maybe you have a little color block box with a short excerpt from your another post that's related, and then a button that says click here to read the full post. So it's sort of it's really easy for them to fall into, I've read this paragraph, now I'm interested in what this blog post is, let me click on it. And here's the crazy thing, is that a lot of times when we end up in this cycle, we don't even realize it's happening to us. I have fallen for this multiple times. So recently, both my daughters had birthdays in the same week. And both my girls wanted to make homemade cakes this year. My youngest daughter loves strawberry cake. My oldest daughter loves cheesecake. The strawberry cake, we were like, okay, we'll do a box cake, but then we're going to make our own icing to put on it because we're big into trying to make our own stuff now. So, and my oldest daughter was like, I want to make cheesecake from scratch. Never made it from scratch. I've always done the no-bake kind. So she was like, no, I want to do a real cheesecake. I was like, okay. So I went online to look for recipes. What I found myself doing, and I recognized it after a little while, and I was like, oh, I need to talk about this in this episode. What I found myself doing is I searched for best cheesecake recipes, easy cheesecake recipes. I found this one blog post. After I read through her whole life story and I get to the actual cheesecake recipe, at the very, right below the actual recipe is a little blurb about, I want to say it was something related. It was a cheesecake dip or something. It was something, I don't remember exactly what it was now, but it was a little blurb about this cheesecake. If you like making this cheesecake recipe, or if you like this cheesecake recipe, you should really check out my cheesecake dip recipe, and then a little bit about it. And I was like, oh, that sounds fascinating. So I clicked on it. And then the next thing I know, I'm at the bottom of that recipe making note of like, ooh, we should make a cheesecake dip for like our 4th of July party. And then I get to the bottom of that one and I see an excerpt from another recipe on this person's blog. And I'm like, well, that sounds amazing too. Let me click on that. And after I was in like 4 layers deep in this person's blog of recipes, I was like, oh, I just completely fell for the same strategy that I'm going to tell my audience to try. And I was like, it works without even realizing it's working. And it feels like this natural progression. But I just, in that 4 clicks, validated to Google that her content is worthy of clicking through. I boosted her SEO, and I ended up making her cheesecake recipe, which was delicious, by the way. And here I am talking to you about it. So now I'm sure there were ads and things I could have clicked on for whatever she was selling off of her blog. I wasn't necessarily interested in any of those things, but I did spend a lot of time on her website looking through her other blog recipes, and I saved her website, her blog site, because there were so many recipes that I wanted to go back and try. So it was, in my opinion, if I were her, that's a successful transition from a viewer to someone who's now going to engage more often with my content. And that's what we want from our audience too, is we want to turn them from viewers to buyers to clients. But this is one of the things that you can do, is that if someone is up, especially if it's a mom and it's late at night, she's on the internet, she comes across your blog, she gets to the end of your blog post, and there's a little blurb about the next blog post she can go to, she might mindlessly click on it and go, oh, that's interesting too. And then the next thing she knows, she's 4 blog posts deep into your site and hopefully reaching out to book a session with you. That's the goal. So that's kind of one of the first things you can do to get people to spend more time on your site. It's not as direct as actually getting someone to take a more powerful action, but it also feels less salesy and less like a sales pitch. It's more of just like a, hey, if you want more, here's more information for you. So that's the first thing you can do. The second thing you can do is give them a call to action to do something on your site. So it might be something like book now, contact me, click here to view my session information, all those things. So I'm going to pause here for just a second and give you a little bit of like a pullback. One is when I'm going through these steps of like, what are the things that you can do to keep people engaged and turn them into paying clients? I'm going in order from like lowest level to highest level. So this would be what I call the mid-level. And it might seem confusing because you're thinking, but Kendra, you're asking them to book with you. Like how much more direct can you be of turning someone into a paying client? Well, here's the thing. Those direct requests, those asks, those call to actions of book now, contact me, those kinds of things, they're less likely to get clicked on because it feels very extreme. Like you're going from, I just found you, I just read this blog post by you, and now you want me to book a session with you. It's like going on a first date with someone and them saying on the first date, like, hey, let's move in together. Like that's a big jump, to go from this casual, I'm just consuming content to now I'm committing and turning over money into your hands. So while we want to include that occasionally, and we want to make sure that that is an option that they are aware is available, we don't want to inundate them with like all of this book now, contact me. Like we want to sprinkle those things in. You can sprinkle them in throughout your post as well. But we don't want it to be like the same thing every single time, because if they jump from one blog post to another, and every single one ends with book now, it's going to feel like it's just kind of this afterthought that you threw at the bottom of your post, hoping someone would click on it. And someone might and probably will at some point click on it. It's not going to have as high of a success rating as you might really hope that it would. So having said that, let's talk about option number 3, my personal favorite, and the one I feel like is the most beneficial and the most likely to actually get you potentially paying clients. And that is to include a call to action that gets them to join your email list. So here's how this might look. You have the post, about should you include your pet in your family photos? You have the mom who is up late at night on Google, reading through your blog post, and she comes across your post, and then she gets to the bottom of it. And you have a little box for an opt-in that says something along the lines of 10 unique locations in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for your next family photos. And it's a lead magnet. So it's going to ask them to give their name and their email address, and they'll get this guide or whatever. The reason that this works so well as far as clicks and actual opt-ins is because it feels low stakes. It's that Goldilocks spot of it's not as simple as I'm just going to keep reading content. That's obviously the lowest barrier to entry. There is no risk there for the reader. They're just clicking through from post to post. On the other end of the spectrum of that is the book now button, the book now call to action, or the contact me book to action or call to action, because that is high risk, because now they're putting themselves out there to feel like they're going to have to hire you or pay you. This is that in between of I'm going to give my information, but I'm not going to actually have to commit to anything yet. So it's medium stakes, I guess you could say. It's not as low stakes as just clicking through a blog post. It's not as high stakes as actually reaching out and inquiring with you. It's that middle ground. And they're getting something in return for it. They're getting whatever your lead magnet is in exchange for their name, their email address. That's the benefit to them. The benefit to you is that now they are on your email list. You can nurture that relationship. You can follow up with a series of emails that talks about who you are, what you do, what you offer, and then shares more valuable information. You're building that rapport. You're building that level of trust and connection through email that ultimately leads to them booking with you. The other reason I really, really like this option is because when someone comes to your site, to your blog post, even if they click through 5 or 6 blog posts, even if they click the book now or learn more button, but they don't actually fill anything out, it just takes them to your inquiry page or your information page. If they click off of your site, they're gone. They might come back at some point, but it's out of your control. If you take them from a reader of your content to a subscriber to your email list, you now have a way to have direct contact with them. You can follow up, you can share more information, you can build that relationship. So that simple call to action could lead to who knows what down the future, but you have more control over it now because they're on your email list. If they just click away, you've lost all control. The only control you have is putting out more content that could potentially bring them back. But that email list piece is going to be golden. So if you want to take your blog content and turn it into a client magnet, you need to set up a way for them to go from your blog to your email list. That is going to be the best path possible, the most profitable one for you. So if you're looking for it, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of how to set up your email list or a lead magnet. Basically, I use Flowdesk. I love it. It'll do everything you need it to do. It's as easy as copy and pasting essentially a link into your blog post that pops up as a little visual block. HTML code, if you have that, depending on what blog you use. They lay it all out for you. It's super, super easy. It's very easy to set up. I do offer lead magnet design and setup, creation and setup process as a done-for-you service. So if you're interested in adding in a lead magnet to your blog post, but you don't know how to set all that up or what to even do, I would love to help work with you to get that set up and running on your blogs. So feel free to reach out to me. You can message me at Kendra@girlmeansbusiness.com. And I'd be happy to chat with you about those ideas, because I know that can feel a little overwhelming and very tech heavy. But it's a super simple process, and it can make a huge, huge impact on turning those visitors to your site into actual clients. Okay, guys, that's it. That wraps up our 3-part blogging for photographers series. We've tied everything up in a nice, pretty bow. We've gone from why you should start a blog, what to write about, how to get people to notice your content and see it, and then what to do when they actually come to your site that gets them into paying clients. We've gone this whole journey. Hopefully, throughout this process, you have been able to break down the steps that maybe felt overwhelming or you didn't understand the purpose behind them. That's always my goal, is not just to tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing in your business, but to give you the why behind it. And in this case, hopefully that has come across as to the why behind blogging and the power of blogging as a marketing strategy within your business. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you want to talk through anything about this in your business, please feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram at Girl Means Business. You can go to my email, kendra@girlmeansbusiness.com. You can just reach out to me anywhere you can reach out to me. And I would love to have a conversation with you about your blog, the content you can be putting out there, how to make it valuable, how to set up that lead magnet, all the things. So please feel free to reach out if you have any thoughts, questions, ideas. And who knows, it could potentially lead to another topic of this down the road. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will see you back here next week, same time, same place.